Ready, set, up your geek.
Ready, set, up your geek, homie.
For those of you that are watching, this is Up Your Geek Spotlight. We're here with Erika Alexander and Derek Luke, promoting the film American Refugee, produced by Blumhouse Television. Will be premiering on video on demand on December 10th, and it's going to be it is an epic film. I saw the film. It's really gritty and really kind of thought-provoking. I was watching the film and I saw you, Erika, your character in this film. There's this instance where you're like, she says this line like, I'm scared, but you completely do not seem afraid through this entire film. She's like this warrior in turn. She's like, yeah, I'm saying I'm scared inside, but I'm not.
So you can see that was the toughest line for me to say. I'm scared.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I mean, taking on this character, and when you read the script about this character, what were your thoughts about the approach of bringing this character to life?
Well, you know what? I know Derek would have a lot to say about that because, you know, there's the dynamic of power. Power is always asking ourselves what's appropriate. What would we be doing in that situation? Has nothing to do what that character should be doing in that situation. So maybe somebody like me, it's a little tough for me to get into a position where I'm like actually afraid. I can totally understand why a woman would be afraid. You know, really. She doesn't know what's happening. She's got kids. She's out of her control. She's a doctor, so you know she's a control freak. You know that she's about order because doctors follow orders. First, do no harm, and she's not in a good position with her husband. So I mean, that's enough to make anyone, tremble. So I mean, the problem is that she also has to display a certain amount of authority to be down there in this bunker. She can't look weak because she doesn't want to give that, the energy down there an inch. And she's also trying to balance being strong for her children. And yet, it is what it is. So, I mean, we can talk about that, but Derek will have more to say about power and all that, because during filming, it was always a question for him.
Back to you, Bo.
Yeah.
Derek, what do you got to say about that?
I think at the end of the day, hopefully the characters and choices draw people into conversation and to sit on the couch. And Erika brought up a good point. There are times, maybe a lot of times, where what you would do is not necessarily what the character is being told to do. However, when it comes down to authority, I'm very interested to see whether she played a damsel in distress or she played Thor. I felt like I was more of what was Batman's girlfriend's name?
Robin.
You were Robin, right? Robin. Yeah, I'm like, dang, honey, what should we do? But you sit there and do this. It was an interesting dynamic. It brought good, question. And hey, we're people.
But you know what though? Because he had more to sit on in terms of power shifting. He went down to a place of brute force where his power should have been his strength, but it was actually his weakness. He couldn't use that power there. He was sitting on it. And he's a professor. He's got to figure these things out.
Is that what you saw?
Huh? What'd you say?
Is that what? Ooh,
that's
exactly. That reaction? You saw that reaction? You got it on camera. You got it. You see that? No, that's individual. That's individualistic. No, listen. What she say, I can relate to, because there's very few meetings that I used to in the beginning bring my wife to. I used to bring her to all my meetings, and we move differently, but we are a unit, and so she can be very artillery. And I can be like, hold on. If you loose the guns, you're gonna hit a couple of the. And so, on the typical man and woman, whatever that is, I think there's different dynamics, and I can't say that every moment I was in agreement. I can just say that I think it was interesting, and it's not foreign to have such a confident, intelligent, professional, driving, but it's not uncommon. You know what I mean? And I don't, and furthermore, I don't get intimidated because someone else has a strength that I may lack in. And I think that's the problem with coming together anyway. It's that you got to be able to respect who they are and not tradition.
Absolutely. And I think the stronger man is that takes on powerful women. I think powerful women look for strong men, not because of their strengths, but because of their core weakness. They want somebody to protect them.
You would say that.
It's true.
Listen,
all women are the most vulnerable people in the world. Because they built that strength because of, they built it probably out of, like this, trying to stop attacks or trying to be protectors. But they want some, they want to, they're like, look, and they're like, I got you. I'm like, all right, you do got me. That you do understand that, and you're like, you could get this, but I got you. That's different. So anyway, all those dynamics are playing. American Refugee is about power dynamics. We don't talk about the black-white dynamic, but it's down there. We don't talk about the fact there's children down there. There's teenagers down there. What's happening with that? We don't talk about food, sustainability. How long can they stay? The power of who controls what. That's down there.
All of that does play in this. So your family, the Taylors, you're seeking shelter in this neighborhood bunker, and it's your neighbor who's probably the closest neighbor in the next 15, 20 miles. The American economy is collapsing. You've got the nation under martial law. And so not only is there danger outside, you're in this position where it might be more dangerous where you are and the people that you're around. Now, and speaking of that power dynamic, Sam Trammell and is really intense in this film, but you're like, it was so that was a great dynamic with the Taylor family interacting with his family there, and his son was kind of like he was like this forced thing because he had to do what his dad says, and but then when you guys came along, some of that the son kind of softened a little bit, but Mrs. Taylor, she was like the smooth operator, even though she was
It was not unlike Black women to know what to do in hard situations. So I appreciate that coming from, my pedigree, as Derek should say. I hope I did them well. But ultimately, what won the day was not going to be her smarts. It would have to be her husband's resilience and strength. And
Mr. Taylor's situation, like there was a situation where you had to go back and the character Brooke. There was a situation there, and that kind of, when I saw that part, I'm like, he kind of like left the situation kind of shook and came back home, so that part of the character we think was going through his head when he arrived back home.
He's talking about, without giving anything away, the Brooke situation and you coming home and having to deal with this sort of martial law and the collapse, the calamity that we're at home experiencing on TV, but you go out in it. What was that like experiencing the calamity in the city?
Oh man, I think that was, aside from the severity of it, I thought that was the most fun for me. Like it was, because it was, you know, the film has its different corridors, but to me that there was action in that. You know, I like the chase, the ducking, but on the narrative side, you know, it was interesting for him to sort of leave his family and to try to, leave his family and try to sort of find out, where Brooke is. I thought it was I thought it was interesting, but for me, I took that piece for me as a character. I just love the way that the pacing of it, yeah.
That scene was, well, this film actually puts me in the mind of The Purge, and your role in The Purge, and I was seeing some stuff in this film that were similar. And actually, my thought process after watching this is that this film actually has a potential to kind of branch out like that film did with other stories.
Does he get stronger?
Well, you mean in terms of branching out as a franchise, American Refugee?
Yeah.
It would be acting great. We talked about that on set because you can definitely see it, that an American Refugee franchise can talk and hit so many different levels of class, status, whatever.
Salary.
Disability, salary.
Yeah.
I hope they do that because we said we hope we did well by them by trying to create a thought-provoking space. I think everybody really played their parts wonderfully because we didn't force anything.
Absolutely. You absolutely did. I was drawn into it. I was in lights off watching. I was in the thrill of the film. But why I compare it to The Purge 2 is that it has that big potential, but also how the original Purge film started out. It started out small. It was just one family in this house. And that's kind of, you guys are parallel with that. And then it branched out into, oh, wait a minute, the government's involved in other ways. And, they're not just the ones putting this mandate down. And then you it's like an onion, like it has all these different layers that could, and I see that being potential for this particular story. You guys kind of set the tone there. And I mean, you guys did a great job with it.
Thank you, Lou. You should go and pitch that and get on one of them scripts and write one.
Yeah,
get on it.
I'll do a 117-page draft. I'll do it.
No doubt.
Right after this. How was your guys' interaction with with Sam's character Winter on the
Derek did a lot with that.
Yeah.
You said how was the interaction?
Yeah, because you had a lot of scenes. You guys had this. There was this big power dynamic there, and it's he just didn't like. He just didn't like you.
Two alphas cannot stand.
Yeah.
And Derek's a wounded alpha. He's coming in. He was the alpha, and he's in a prone position of like, mea culpa, most grievous culpa. He's asking for forgiveness, but he hasn't left it at the door. And so that's where that power dynamic would go ahead, Derek. Say what you say.
No, go ahead, Mama. You doing all the time.
No, I'm not.
No. It was. I think it was interesting because off screen, I think we had similar processing that we didn't talk to each other a lot. I thought Sam brought some exciting, interesting things to the character. I think for me, a lot of times I was just trying to find out how to get one up on him because he had all the words, all the things that seemed exciting. And it was one of those characters that it seems like a lot of clues happened when we finished it, not during. How to use the confusion or silence as a tool or a weapon. I think many days on set, it was just more about, isolation from his family, even though they were together, or from his wife, and, isolation of beliefs because they believe differently. So, but essentially, I think, as Erika said, everyone brought a terrific element to the story. But part two, let's talk about that. What does part two look like?
Yeah.
So
compound. Maybe they have a compound they built.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I can see, the kind of without giving anything away, something that happened at the end there, with the characters, and again, like that's where I'm talking about that branch out, like what's happening around the community, what's happening in other parts of this town, and and like, are people making it to? That's what I'm saying. There's people making it to this family because he's got this bunker, and how's that going to look with 100 people there? And that would make for an interesting twist, and I'm actually super interested in seeing. I can see Derek, your character Greg, your character actually has a lot of potential for growth, going from character development, going from one end to the next with where you are now, and how does this character become more intense? You might become more like Winter at some point, and it's
that would be fun.
That you can see that in this type of situation, driving these characters to those pieces.
I like that pitch.
Yeah.
And how are you guys with the younger cast?
They're great.
Mm-hmm.
They're
awesome.
all stars. They're great. They're kind. I'm hoping that they get wonderful careers. They, a lot of people talk about child stars or children actors. I love being an actor. I started at 14, but a lot of people say, well, I don't want my child to get into it. I say, but if your child is good at performing, you shouldn't stop them. Just like if they're good at swimming, you put them on the swim team. If they're good at math, you put them on the math team. And some people are good at being human. And that's what these children are. And the thing that stops children most of the time is not them. It's the people around them. And it's not showbiz people. It's usually their family. You can corrupt them and don't parent well. But as I could see, they were all in a good situation. I hope they remain that way. So to give shout out to Peyton, Zamani, and Jessi and Vince. They're fantastic actors, but more than that, they're really lovely, lovely young people. Very thoughtful. They laugh easy, humor, and they've all gone through something. I don't know if, Derek, you talked to them at length, but they've all gone through something very hard and deep in life. And I don't know if Ali selected for that, but that's who came into that room.
No, I didn't know. Maybe one of them. I didn't know about the others. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great perspective on that, and I'm excited for people to see this film and kind of get their ideas out about it. Thank you guys for talking to me. We're talking about American Refugee here We're here with stars Erika Alexander and Derek Luke. It's directed by Ali Leroi. This will be available December 10th on EPIX and for digital purchase on Paramount Home Entertainment on video on demand. Go out and
See it.
thoughts together. See it. Thank you guys for coming on to Up Your Geek Spotlight.
Thank you, Lou. Appreciate it.
Up your geek, brother.
Up your geek.
Thank you.
Wall Street is
Like protests returning to violence again for a third night.
This nation is essentially under martial law right now.
It's getting bad out there.
I'm scared.
What is it? The fence is electric.
You need to go talk to them. You ain't got but one neighbor for 10 or 15 miles. You might want to know who they are.
Lights off at 9, and the hatch stays locked. Yes, sir.
Go, 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 go!
We have no food. They took everything. We need your help.
Can't help you.
Can't or you won't.
Go somewhere else.
There is nowhere else. I know you're scared. So are we.
Dear Lord, please bless this food we are about to receive. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Why didn't you say amen?
Are we safe here?
Get some sleep.
I don't think you know what's going on out there.
Why do you think I'm in here?
This baby is coming to stay. We have to prove our value.
We got a breach!
Wait, you taking your son out there?
I'm taking you. You're either an asset or a liability. Down here. You all answer to me.
This is your fault.
World is collapsing. That's not my fault.
You being here is no accident. This is what happens when you try and take what's mine! How do you expect to protect your family?
Hey there, freaks and geeks. If you like this content and would like to view more like it, please visit us on all of our social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also visit us on our YouTube page, /UpYourGeek, and you can visit upyourgeek.com, where you can experience a new standard in geek pop culture and entertainment media, because no matter what fandom you're passionate about, we have it waiting here for you. Ready, set, up your geek!